All right, let me start with something that's probably going to feel a little uncomfortable. You open your banking app. You see a decent chunk of cash sitting there. Not reckless, not exciting, just safe. And instead of feeling proud, there's this quiet tension in your chest. Because deep down, you know that money hasn't moved in months. But you tell yourself, at least it's not risky. At least it's there. At least I'm being responsible. And if that made you think, okay, that's literally me, then yeah, this video is for you. My name is Jimmy, and I spend way too much time thinking about money decisions that feel smart, but quietly sabotage people's futures. If you're someone who saves consistently, avoids debt, plays it safe, and still feels like you're falling behind, hit subscribe and give this video a thumbs up, because this one matters. Now look, you work hard, you don't overspend, you save what you can, you keep your money somewhere safe, and if you do those things, wealth is supposed to happen automatically. But here's the thing. One of the most socially praised, emotionally comforting, responsible money moves is also one of the most destructive to long-term wealth. And most people don't realize it until decades later, when the damage is already done. I'm talking about parking large amounts of money in safe places for too long. Cash, low-yield savings accounts, money markets that barely move, ultra-conservative allocations that feel smart but do nothing. Not because saving is bad, but because misunderstanding safety is expensive. Here's what most people don't realize. The biggest threat to your money isn't volatility, it's time. And inflation is quietly robbing you while you're congratulating yourself for being careful. Let's put real numbers on this, because until you see the math, your brain will keep lying to you. Right now, long-term inflation averages around 3% per year. Some years it's lower. Some years, like recently, it's much higher. According to data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, inflation averaged about 3.1% annually over the last century. That means money loses about half its purchasing power every 23 years. So let's say you're doing what feels responsible. You've got $50,000 sitting in a savings account earning 1%. You feel good about it. It's liquid. It's safe. No stress. But after inflation, that money is actually losing around 2% per year in real terms, which means every single year, without touching it, you're poorer. In 10 years, that $50,000 doesn't buy what $50,000 buys today. In 20 years, it doesn't even come close. And the scariest part, you didn't do anything wrong. You followed the rules. This is where it gets interesting. Your brain is wired to prioritize emotional safety over mathematical truth. Cash feels safe because it doesn't move. No red numbers, no headlines, no panic. But stability is not the same thing as security. It's like standing still on a treadmill that's slowly moving backward. You're not falling, you're not panicking, but you're absolutely going in the wrong direction. Now you might be thinking, Jimmy, okay, but at least I'm not losing money like people in the stock market. And I get that. That fear is real. Loss aversion is one of the strongest psychological biases we have. Nobel Prize-winning research by Daniel Kahneman shows that people feel losses about twice as strongly as gains of the same size. So losing $1,000 hurts roughly twice as much as gaining $1,000 feels good. Your brain would rather accept a slow, invisible loss than a fast, visible one. And that's exactly why this trap works. Let me tell you a quick story. I know someone, we'll call him Alex. Alex did everything right. No consumer debt. Good job. Saved aggressively. By his mid-30s, he had about $120,000 sitting in cash and low-risk accounts. He felt responsible, mature, ahead. But here's the part no one talks about. That money stayed there for years because investing felt scary, because waiting felt prudent, because I'll do it later felt safe. Fast forward 15 years. Adjusted for inflation, that $120,000 had the purchasing power of about $75,000. Meanwhile, if that same money had been invested in a broad market index fund averaging 7% real returns, a conservative long-term estimate, it would have been worth over $300,000. Same income, same savings effort, same discipline, completely different outcomes. Not because Alex was irresponsible, but because he confused not losing with winning. Here's the thing. We've been trained to think of risk as something external. Market crashes, recessions, bad timing. But the most dangerous risk is internal. The risk of doing nothing. The risk of delaying decisions, the risk of waiting for certainty in a world that doesn't offer it. And the longer you wait, the more expensive safety becomes. This is where most people get it backwards. They think, I'll invest once I have enough money. I'll invest when the market feels safer. I'll invest when I understand it perfectly. But wealth doesn't come from waiting for confidence. Confidence comes after consistent action. Now look, I'm not saying you should dump every dollar into the market tomorrow. This isn't reckless advice. Cash has a purpose. Emergency funds matter. Short-term goals matter. Peace of mind matters. But there's a difference between using safety and hiding in it. Most people aren't holding cash strategically. They're holding it emotionally. They're buying comfort at the cost of their future. Let's talk about opportunity cost for a second, because this is where the math really stings. If you invest $10,000 at age 25 and earn an average of 7% real returns, by age 65, that money becomes roughly $150,000. That same $10,000 invested at age 35 becomes about $75,000. At 45, around $38,000. Time does the heavy lifting, which means every year you sit on the sidelines, you're not just missing returns, you're missing compounding. And compounding is ruthless. It rewards early action and punishes hesitation. Here's what most people don't realize. The biggest benefit of investing isn't higher returns. It's protection against inflation and time. It's converting today's effort into tomorrow's freedom. And when you avoid that because it feels safer, you're actually choosing a guaranteed loss over a temporary discomfort. That's the paradox. The safe move quietly kills wealth because it feels good now and costs you later. And later is when you need it most. Now you might be thinking, okay, but what if I invest and the market crashes? Great question, because this is where psychology really matters. Market crashes are visible. Inflation losses are invisible. A 20% market drop makes headlines. A 3% inflation loss barely gets noticed. But over time, inflation does more damage than volatility ever will. Historically, the US stock market has recovered from every crash. Every single one. The Great Depression, the dot-com bubble, 2008, 2020. According to data from Fidelity and Vanguard, markets have always trended upward over long periods despite short-term chaos. But cash? Cash never recovers. Once purchasing power is gone, it's gone. No rebound, no recovery rally, just silence. That's why this is so dangerous. Because no one warns you. Banks don't warn you. Schools don't teach you. Society praises you for being responsible. Meanwhile, the math is quietly doing its thing. So what do you actually do? This is where action matters. First, you need to redefine what safe means. Safe doesn't mean stable month to month. Safe means aligned with your time horizon. Money you need in the next 6 to 12 months? Yeah, keep that safe and liquid. Money you won't touch for 10, 20, 30 years? Cash is one of the riskiest places you can put it. Second, separate emotional comfort from financial logic. Ask yourself this question honestly. Am I holding this money because it serves a purpose? Or because it calms my anxiety? There's no shame in the answer, but you need to know which one it is. Third, automate exposure to growth. You don't need to be a stock picker. You don't need to time the market. You don't need to be good at investing. Broad index funds, consistent contributions, long-term thinking. That's it. Simple beats perfect. Fourth, zoom out. Short-term volatility feels loud because we're zoomed in. Long-term growth feels quiet because it's slow and boring. But boring is where wealth is built. The goal isn't to feel smart this year. It's to not be stressed in 20 years. And finally, this part matters the most. Stop waiting for permission. No one's coming to tell you, okay, now it's safe to grow. That moment doesn't exist. Every financially free person you admire had to move money when it felt uncomfortable. They didn't eliminate fear. They learned to act despite it. Here's the truth. You don't lose wealth by making one bad decision. You lose it by making the same safe decision over and over again. By choosing comfort over compounding. By choosing stillness over growth. By choosing what feels good now instead of what works long term. And the good news? This is fixable. Not overnight, not perfectly, but gradually, intentionally, consistently. You don't need to be aggressive. You just need to stop being invisible. Because money that never moves eventually disappears. And real safety is knowing your future self won't be trapped because your past self was too afraid to move. If this video made you uncomfortable, that's a good sign. It means you're paying attention. And if you want more videos that break down money psychology, real math, and the quiet decisions that actually shape wealth, make sure you're subscribed. Because playing it safe feels smart, but building freedom requires courage. And you're more capable of that than you think.